potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We're in here trying to make it work. I got these random hours for this last week, but we're going to get in there. We're going to get it done right. We got to get us some consistency. We're leaning on, like I told you guys before, potentially sitting on our 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central, 6 Pacific timeline. We haven't gotten there yet because, I'm kind of work out a lot of kinks in a lot of different places. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure that you guys also take the opportunity to join the membership. Know that we are live 7 days a week. So, we're going to get in there every day before the sun rises and we're going to make this work. So we are actually, I need to change the banner on that when we start running our timelines again. So let me go ahead and throw that up. I'm going to change that banner to 10 Eastern. It's going to be 10 p.m. Eastern. I just noticed that it always says 9, but it doesn't say 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. So probably going to make sure that we make that clear to you guys now. So you got that 10 o'clock Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be where we're going to be sitting ourselves at coming soon. So as we make those adjustments, be mindful that even if you missed the live show, that you can always go back and catch the post premiere of the show on the channel, on the YouTube channel. For those of you that are watching us on Twitch, you can also catch the post release of the channel on usually I make them available the same day or the next day. I just got to go back and double check them and make sure that they are live. But you have all of or most of, except for probably 1 or 2, available right now for the week. And today's show and the show from yesterday should both be made available to you guys after the show today, because I got a lot of catching up to do. So bear with me as we work through the kinks. I was talking to the artist that helped us with the label that helped us with creating the song, and they said that they were going to get us whitelisted for the song. And I do believe that whitelisting us should give us the ability to play the song without restriction. Whether or not we're allowed to get revenue off of playing the song will be determined. I'm gonna talk to them later this week about the whitelisting benefits once we confirm that we have been added to the white list. Because we're not trying to get revenue off of playing our own song on our show. We're trying to get revenue off of people buying the song, renting the song, leasing the song, using the song in their shows. See what I'm saying? So as we work on that, just make sure that if you guys have anything you want to add into the shows, we have the link that we just dropped into the comment section. You can click that link, approve the mic, approve the camera, be brought up onto the show in real time. We expect you to be over the age of 18 before we drop you on in real time so we can see you live, appropriately dressed, might I add. Beyond that, comments are supposed to be kept appropriate. And in addition to that, open-minded, open forum, open mic conversation. So this platform talks about this, that, and everything in between. We can particularly entertain some straw man topics that are appropriate. But as we experienced when we were talking about how valuable good women and high-value women are, man kind of redirected us into Joe Martinez, as a matter of fact, redirected us into debate about law and the politics of law, and tried to talk about something completely different from the relationship topic we were having that day. And, I just got to kind of remind you guys when we do that you can't try to dispel the extensive research that I do on today's show by bringing another topic from a completely different scenario and then say that I'm without knowledge on all fronts. That doesn't work out. Now, if I ever air a show and I'm not bringing enough knowledge for the particular show that I've aired, by all means, call me out. By all means, I want you to scream shenanigans in all caps in the comment section if in the event that I am lacking the knowledge that I needed to have for the topic that I was actually talking about. But for the sake of the discussion that I was talking about, there is definitely a guarantee that everything that I ran across the table definitely fit the topic that I was talking about. And there was way more knowledge in there than I had enough time to deliver, which is one of the reasons why I talk faster in a podcast, because I'm giving you a large quantity of stuff in a short period of time. We don't just talk about relationship topics on this podcast. We don't just talk about social inequalities. We don't just talk about the change in the masculine and feminine roles in our society right now, with the struggles that men have from a male perspective, with how to navigate through, because men are self-persevering. And the fact is that we don't just whine and complain about the things that don't go right. We adapt to the situation, but by adapting to the situation, a lot of the times as men, we sacrifice ourselves to try to find balance in an imbalanced scenario. And one of the things that I talk about on this podcast is not only to improve yourselves as a person, whether you're a male or a female, to improve yourselves financially, to also have respect for yourself as well as your partner, regardless of whether or not you're a man or a woman. So I come from a uniform platform. And in any scenario, if I ever talk about something on this channel where I'm coming from a biased position, then by all means, try to call shenanigans on that as well. Because I can tell you, I always come from a non-ethical, non-moral perspective. I come from a uniform perspective where if it's wrong for everybody. If it's right for everybody. If you can do it, I should be able to do it too. And if I can't do it, you shouldn't be able to do it either. So it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It just matters that the expectations for whoever takes over that role is exactly the same, whether it's a man or a woman, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of age. If that's the expectations of that role, if those are the benefits that role is supposed to receive, if those are the obligations and expectations that role is supposed to receive, then whoever takes over that role is supposed to have that all the way across. No expectations, no exceptions, and no special treatment anywhere. It's just 100%. Everybody gets treated the same. So with that knowledge and with that understanding, when I start delivering to you today's topic, we're going to be talking about the truth that mama never told us about when we was growing up. Because as fellas, we have always been told in a large quantity of nice. Oh, that's going to be down the line. We have been told throughout our lives that as men, we're supposed to, from the perspective of women, we're supposed to value and respect and idolize and worship the women and treat them like queens, right? Now, from the perspective of men, we're always taught that we're supposed to be able to afford the women, protect and provide for the women. Throughout our upbringing, we end up in scenarios where we learn, taught, or hear from our society that men are at some point expected to build themselves up to a level of protecting and providing for the women that they decide to date, which fathers and male role models tell the boys at the early ages, you're not ready to date because you can't afford to support her. Mothers would tell the sons that you have to be responsible for the women. You can't misuse the women. You can't disrespect the women because the women are supposed to be valued and protected and appreciated, right? So all of these things are taught to men, but what nobody ever tells the men when they're boys growing up is that there are some not so good types of women out there. Now, this isn't all women, but just like there are very bad men out there that everybody warns everybody about, there are also very bad women out there that men need to recognize and avoid those women in pursuit of the good women. Now, today's show is not about bashing women, but we're going to be talking about toxic women. Now, we're not talking about all women. We're just talking about the toxic ones. The same way if I was to sit here and do a show about how some men don't deserve to be in relationships, like Chris Brown, 20 women in a row, he's beaten up. I don't understand why women are going to date guys like that, but good men that'll worship the ground you walk on, run your bathwater, rub your feet, cook your dinner, clean your house, and pay all the bills. That guy gets put in the friend zone and treated like garbage. But men like, Chris Brown, Bill Cosby, Ray Rice, Mike Tyson, who are like knocking females out that don't deserve to be in a relationship. I don't get it, but that's neither here nor there. We recognize that there are bad men out there. And one of the parts that men are supposed to have as their role of protecting is to protect their girlfriend from those bad men, where we know the full totality of the mindset of negative men, which is why we would encourage our women not to dress a certain way to prevent from attracting that bad man. We would encourage our girlfriends and our wives not to put themselves in compromising positions where their cognitive functions are diminished due to partying with their homegirls, because they could get taken advantage of by a guy. I could tell you, even as a young man, my mom always used to tell me, don't drink open containers in a crowded room, and don't leave your drink anywhere. If you lose sight of your drink, don't drink and get another drink. And this is as a man, because it can happen that whether it was intended for you or not, that somebody can spike your drink, whether it's a man or a woman, and all of a sudden you wake up in a ditch somewhere. It can happen. And I've actually had a buddy of mine that, and this isn't even like when I was a kid. This is like grown man style. I had a buddy of mine that he was like 20 or 30 years older than I am. So he's in his 60s. And, I'm in my 30s, 40s. He goes out to a birthday party, and he ended up coming in contact with somebody who had a large quantity of cocaine in the food and the drinks. So dude ended up hospitalized, and he was encouraging me to go to this party. And I'm like, nah, I got to work. He went out there. He ended up hospitalized for 3 days because of the way that these people party. He did not know that there were drugs in the food that he couldn't handle. There was drugs in the drink that he couldn't handle. He had came across 2 or 3 bowls of soup, 2 or 3 bottles of water, and everything was laced. And by the time he woke up, he was in a hospital 3 days later after the party. This is the kind of stuff that we know that guys have their own personal preferences and own personal expectations. And if you don't know what that is, you could be walking into a disaster area. So we understand this. And while we understand this, we always warn women about the bad men, but that doesn't mean that all men are bad. It just means that since there are bad men out there, we've got to pay attention to what that looks like and avoid them. Likewise, as today's topic, when we're recognizing that not all women are bad, we have to recognize what bad women look like and avoid that. If you're already in a relationship with a bad woman and you hear some stuff that resonates, now's the time to say, ooh, snap, I might want to retreat from this particular engagement, because you can't change somebody else. If somebody else recognizes that they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, that person can decide to change on their own. But if you recognize that somebody else is behaving a certain way, that is something that you have to resonate with, and you have to decide, are you going to stick with that, or are you going to leave? Now, just because you don't like something that somebody does doesn't mean that you should just abandon a relationship. By all means, that's not the case. However, if you understand that you are the only person in a relationship that is currently unhappy, or if you are one of everybody in the two-party relationship, if it's supposed to be a two-party relationship, because I do understand that polygamy does exist. If you are one of the number of people that are unhappy in the relationship and nobody cares to make a change about it, that's when you start considering removing yourself from the relationship. But that only happens after you have had some healthy communication where you express your concerns in an appropriate fashion and let your partner know that you are unhappy in a relationship, what makes you unhappy in a relationship, and what you would hope to see change about the relationship. And then you also put in effort to get that change. All of that has to come about before you decide to say, you know what, I'm out. But in a situation where you have a problem, whether you're a man or a woman, and you recognize that your partner sees that you have an issue and they could care less about that, that's when you're in a position where you need to say, you know what, I'm not sticking around for this, because this is not in my best interest. So with that, nice long drawn out, bring it to a head kind of situation. Now I'm going to come in and tell you guys about how we're going to be diving into the hidden truths about some of the toxic women, not the good women, that our moms never told us about. So these toxic women that we're going to be referring to today, exclusively just the toxic women, not the good women. This is going to be a topic that's often avoided in most conversations, and mostly because even if you're not a toxic woman, a lot of women that hear this might just get offended by it and then just say, nope, that's not cool. But you have to think about this, ladies. At the end of the day, even if you're not the one doing it, even if you haven't done this in the past and recognized that it was wrong and stopped doing it, you know somebody who's doing it. You've heard of somebody that's doing it. You've seen somebody that's doing it, even if it's not somebody that you know, even if it's somebody that you've seen in passing, you know that this stuff exists. So when a man says that this stuff happens, you can't just say, oh, well, he's just insecure and oh, he's an incel and oh, he's traumatized from his childhood or and just try to discredit and devalue the facts, because it is fact that this actually occurs. The same way we say it's fact that more often than not, when you get pulled over by a police officer, you're probably going to get beat half to death. That kind of statement happens because of the violent behavior of poorly trained and poorly experienced police officers. Doesn't mean that all of them are bad, but when you're warning your friends and your family and your children about how to behave so that you don't get beat up by a police officer, it's because it's a common fact that that does happen. So likewise, ladies, when we're talking about the toxic women that we're going to be talking about today, I mean, if you don't have to agree, you can by all means comment. We'll entertain all of your comments in a positive fashion. But I am going to tell you at the end of the day, if you're bringing facts to the table to disprove what I have to say, we've got the longest debate possible. Actually, we've got about 2.5 hours because I do have an engagement. However, we can follow up with the longest engagement possible thereafter. But I mean, if you're just going to jump up onto the podcast and tell me that, there's something wrong with me because I'm telling you that there's an issue that needs to be addressed, then, I'm kind of going to pass over that because, again, I like to hear informed decisions and I like to hear informed communication and I like to stay open-minded. So if in the event that you disagree, by all means, put your disagreements in there. But please, ladies, make it make sense. So since it's essential that we acknowledge and understand these behaviors to navigate our personal relationships effectively, today we're going to explore the unspoken realities of dealing with toxic women. And I'm excited to share you these insights. So the definition of toxic femininity refers to behaviors and attitudes that reinforce harmful stereotypes about women, often leading to unhealthy relationships and personal struggles. It can manifest as internalized misogyny, where women adopt restrictive behaviors to conform to society's expectations of femininity, which it's interesting because that's actually a definition of it. It's interesting that it is an internalized. So that means she's doing this to herself. This isn't a situation that is forced upon her by her society. And this isn't a situation that develops from how she's treated by a man. This is something that she internalizes. So she actually self-misogynizes herself before these negative behaviors start to manifest, which I actually didn't think about that before. So there you go. Learn something new. But common behaviors that you're going to see is going to be emotional manipulation, where some women may use emotions to manipulate situations, such as crying during arguments or using passive aggressive tactics to get their way. You're going to have hypercriticism, where we're going to experience a lot of that throughout the show and in the comment sections after the show, where being overly critical of partners or friends can erode self-esteem and create a toxic atmosphere in their relationship, where the hypercriticism that's going to come from today's show is going to lead to a large quantity of individuals that are going to be hypercritical of my statements, where they're going to attempt to erode my self-esteem, which is not possible, because there's a thing that we have identified back in the day called a guilt trip, where you as a man learn all of or most of the common ways that a female can manipulate you into doing something that you didn't want to do, sometimes based off of either experience with women through dating or through women in your family, women in your friends groups, because you can be in some way, shape, or form manipulated by or guilt tripped into certain things by women from the youngest age of responsibility as a man all the way to your adult years. You have the puppy dog eyes, you have the bursting out in tears and oh, you never loved me, and all of these different things that can be said to a man to make a man change his position and no, 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 and then try to defend that, which is why I've said on several other shows, a man is never supposed to have to defend himself to his woman. Now, women aren't going to agree to that. Women are going to believe that a man is supposed to be able to answer for what he's done. No, he's supposed to take accountability for what he's done. He's not supposed to provide a trial style testimony as to why he did what he did. He did it, whether it was intentional or accidental, and he has to take accountability for the consequences of what he did. That is what being responsible is about. It's not about explaining to the authoritative figure why you did what you did to avoid punishment. That's not taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is recognizing that you screwed up, that whether you did that on purpose or by accident, that decisions that you made had an unfavorable outcome, and the consequences are now your responsibility to take over. When you understand that, you can understand that there's absolutely no reason why a man should be defending his actions and his decisions against anyone, not even a woman. Because if you screwed up, you screwed up. You know you screwed up. Explanations are like rear ends. Everybody's got one and they all stink. And the fact is that if you're using an excuse or an explanation to justify your actions so that you cannot be held responsible for your actions, you are not taking responsibility for your actions. You are making excuses for your actions so that you can evade or be exempt from consequence. That's not being a man. That's not being masculine. So again, men should not be defending themselves. If you don't like what he did, whatever the consequences for that, do that. But you also have to recognize consequence of your decision. And you also have to recognize that compromise in a relationship, knowing that you're going to make mistakes the same way he makes mistakes, that your ability to show mercy towards your consequences to his mistakes is going to directly reflect upon you how he's going to show tolerance to your mistakes. So, I mean, if you're going to be yelling, fussing, and cussing, and throwing stuff, wouldn't it be fair to say that he should be yelling, fussing, and cussing, and throwing stuff? Keep in mind, that is a toxic relationship. I would not recommend that for either side. But if you're going to be talking about the consequences of one's actions, if he makes a mistake and that is the consequences for his actions, if she makes a mistake, that should be the exact same consequence. If it's not, she needs to redirect her response to his mistakes to something more appropriate that she would feel that is fair for her to receive if she made the same kind of mistake. Because as I've said to you guys before, you have it in most religious books that you are supposed to treat thy partner, thy neighbor, the same way you want to be treated. So the people around you, the people in your life, the people that you associate with, you are supposed to treat them the way you want them to treat you. So the way you would prefer to be disciplined by making a mistake is the way that you would discipline the people around you for making a mistake. The way that you would scold them for making a mistake is the way that you would expect to be scolded by them when you make a mistake. Uniformity never changes, never wavers. But if it ever does, by all means, call me out on it. There's control issues. This is actually more common than anything, control issues. Attempts to control a partner's choices, lifestyle, and incisiveness of this leading to a power imbalance and also resentment. Now, why is there a power imbalance? The reason why there is a power imbalance is because, based on the hypergamy theorem, women select a man that is inherently better than her, not because men are better than women, because women want a man that is better than her. So when she selects a man that is better than her, that man is supposed to be able to lead her. He's supposed to be able to mentor her, guide her, provide for her, protect her. So he's supposed to teach her and keep her safe, keep her fed, keep her clothed, which makes him the authority figure, which means she's supposed to follow his instructions and she's supposed to show him respect, appreciation, and validate his existence for the fullest majority of his existence. Now, women aren't going to agree to that. But if you were the leader of your group, ladies, then you would be the more successful one. You would be the breadwinner. You would be protecting and providing. You would be the one that would be mentoring, molding, and guiding. And women say on a regular basis that y'all don't have time to raise a man. You're not his mom. But that's where the authority comes from, because a leader of the pack teaches the pack how to hunt. You understand? The fact is that no matter how you look at this, whoever's in the role of the authority is supposed to lead the way. You notice how we call backseat drivers? Those are the people that are nagging you on how to drive the car. The driver is the only person that's supposed to be driving this car. There's supposed to be no instruction. You're not teaching me how to drive. So there's supposed to be no instructions for the driver. If she's driving, he should not be telling her how to drive. And if he's driving, she should not be telling him how to drive. Granted, shotgun rules do apply, where if in the event that the person in the passenger seat, or even if some person in the back seat, sees something that the other person doesn't see, like a pedestrian crossing into the road or an oncoming car that could negatively impact this vehicle, that's something you're supposed to be able to talk about. Because if they didn't catch that, you could prevent them from getting involved in an accident. But whether or not there's a stop sign approaching, whether or not the light is changing red, whether or not the light is turning green from red, that is not your position every time a situation changes in the path of driving, that you're supposed to micromanage the driver's driving ability. Too fast, too slow, right turn, left turn. You're not a human GPS system. So, and that is a power imbalance even in driving a car, because and that will lead to resentment from the driver towards the person that's backseat driving, because you are controlling this vehicle as if you should be driving this car, but you don't want to drive. If you don't want to drive, don't talk about it. You want to be behind the wheel 100% of the time, he can sit in the back seat. You can chauffeur him all day long. You could drive this vehicle however you want to drive the vehicle. But if he's driving a vehicle, you shouldn't be micromanaging how he drives the vehicle. Truth be told, some of the characteristics that you should be looking for in the partner that you pick, whether it's a male or female partner, is their capabilities to function the way you would prefer to function. So if you've got a partner that drives just a tad bit too fast and that's not what you like, you might should discuss that. I can't say that a bad driver is a deal breaker, but I can definitely say that if you and I are going somewhere and I don't feel safe riding with you, that's probably going to be an issue. Because if I am in any way, shape, or form incapacitated where I can't get us back, then my lack of safety, or my feeling of lack of safety in your ability to get us back, is going to be a concern that could lead to a debate or an argument that could lead to resentment and further cause another imbalance of power. There should not be controlling. A man is supposed to be able to guide and lead a woman until that she's not going in the wrong path. She might know a lot of things, but if you know a lot of things, ladies, if your man is telling you some stuff that you already know, then that means that somebody else is co-signing on your underlined fundamental upbringing, which means that if he tells you that dressing inappropriate is going to negatively impact your scenario, and you know that, but you want to dress that way anyway, then you are literally putting yourself in danger unjustifiably, which is something that you guys have to work on. Because there's a time and a place for everything, or there's a time and a place for most things at the very least. And there's a lot of times where there is no place for certain things, which also means that once you start identifying yourself or attempting to identify yourself as a high value, sophisticated woman, you are supposed to carry yourself with a higher level of self-respect and a higher level of conformity and a higher level of conservativeness, modesty that doesn't exist in the less mature, less valuable female. So keep that in mind when a man starts reminding you, hey, you're starting to carry yourself a little bit below your own personal standards. Maybe you should kind of tighten that up a little bit. You should be able to respect that and say, okay, I didn't think so, but since you mentioned it, I'll try to show some improvement there. Accountability for yourself, as well as accountability of your squad, accountability of your relationship, accountability of your family. You have to remember, back in the day, we were raised to respect ourselves, respect our family, respect our friends, and we were supposed to carry ourselves with the kind of respect where if we did something that was disrespectful, we didn't just disrespected the person in the situation, we disrespected ourselves, we disrespected our family, we disrespected our friends. Notice, high value people do not associate with people that devalue and degrade themselves. A politician, somebody of high status, does not affiliate with people who does not carry themselves in the most positive light possible, because that's bad for business. By affiliation, if you make yourself look bad, I look bad because I was with you when you did it. Now, people of low status, people of low value, don't care what people think about them. I'm going to do whatever I want to do because I can do whatever I want to do. But you'll come to understand that just like when Minority stopped buying Calvin Klein based on a racist comment that he said, when Minority stopped buying from Target based on something that happened there too, Minority said stop shopping at Walmart for a long period of time because of something that was said there too. When NBC canceled Bill Cosby's purchase of the network because of a criminal accusation against him, your money will be halted. Your positive opportunities will be halted based on societal impressions of your behavior, your decision-making process, and any type of negative criminal action that could come about you because of decisions that you made in the past. Even if you're a new person today and you might have did that 20 years ago, because you're being prosecuted today, who you were 20 years ago stops who you are today. Which is why you're supposed to carry yourself in the most positive light 100% of the time, to the best of your ability, never making choices that can negatively impact your future. Your later greater will no longer be there if you do something dumb today, because consequences come eventually. You know that old saying that karma doesn't forget an address? Fact is that no matter what you do today, it's done today, but eventually it catches up to you. And when it does catch up to you, your life could be completely different. But when it catches up to you, you have to answer for that. You have to take responsibility for that. You will be held accountable for it, even if you don't want to take responsibility for it. You'll be sitting on a trial coming up with every excuse under the sun. But at that time, you will be answering for what you have already done. The past can't be changed, only the future. Actually, the past and the future are non-changing. Just the present can be changed, which impacts the future, to be fair. One of the other things that we want to talk about is the negative impacts on relationships, such as the communication breakdowns. Toxic behaviors often lead to poor communication, where one partner may feel unheard or belittled. When a man starts talking about what he doesn't like, and a woman starts talking about, oh, be a man, you shouldn't be saying that, da 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 da, or I would expect my man not to talk about that, da 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 da. These types of conversations is when a person would devalue your statement simply because they don't want to take responsibility for that. They're devaluing what you're saying. You're not wrong. That's the point about it, which is why I started talking about that at the top of the show. You're not wrong about what you said. You're just being convinced that you should feel bad about saying it. Why? If, as a woman, you don't like what a man is doing, you tell him you don't like what he's doing. And that is you standing up for yourself. That is you standing on principle. That is you setting boundaries, right? Now, uniformly speaking, as a man, if he doesn't like what you're doing, he's supposed to be able to tell you exactly the same way that he doesn't like what you're doing. Even if he goes the extra mile and tells you why he doesn't like what you're doing. Because it's still going to be him standing on his non-negotiable expectations for behavior. You set boundaries. You set limitations. He sets non-negotiable expectations for behavior where you understand what he does and does not want to tolerate. You can stand on your own non-negotiable expectations for behavior, where you have expectations to receive and experience certain things. And if he does not provide what you want him to provide, you're going to leave. 70 to 90% of the time, 80% on average, between educated and uneducated women. The fact is that he has to earn his spot by providing to you what you expect him to provide. And you have to earn your spot by behaving the way he expects you to behave. Because what you do is non-tangible and what he does is tangible. And that is where you have symmetry. That is where you guys have the symbiotic relationship. If you have no expectations and he has all the expectations, that's not a healthy relationship. Vice versa. If he has no expectations and you have all the expectations, that is still not a healthy relationship. So the Ken and Barbie relationship, that wasn't healthy, because Barbie had everything. Ken had nothing. Ken had no responsibility. Barbie had all the responsibilities. I'm gonna tell you, hey, if I would have been looking at the Ken and Barbie scenario, I would have been like, you don't want to find nobody like that. You want to find somebody that can bring to the table the same quantity of stuff that you bring to the table. But truth is, though, if you want to be the boss, the alpha boss ladies, you might have the fancy cars, the mansion, the yacht, 8-figure salary, and you take a guy with a 6-figure, 5-figure salary and make him into something. That's how you boost your man into something that you want him to be. But that's when you're the leader of the group. Not if you are a 7 or 8-figure salary and you're looking for a 9-figure salary. The 9-figure salary is the leader of the group, because everything in the United States is transactional. Western culture is transactional. And the person that's going to pay the cost to be the boss is going to be the leader of the tribe. Don't have to agree to that. And I know a lot of people that says, oh, well, equality, egalitarianism doesn't exist, truthfully, because while women claim that there's a wage gap, you have to understand that there isn't a wage gap. The career choice is 25 cents on a dollar less than the career choice of men. So the career choice of women make 25 cents an hour less than the career choice of men. And then the quantity of hours that men choose to put into work to make their money, 18 hours a day, 6-7 days a week, where women are less often working that quantity of time. The quantity of money that a man is going to make versus the quantity of money that a woman is going to make, the man is going to make more because he's working longer, harder hours, and she's working lesser, easier hours. It is what it is. And if you put a man in the same career choice as the woman, he'd be making the same income. You put a woman in the same career choice as a man, she would make the same income. So thinking about this, when women find men that are making more than them, they're usually expecting the man to make a few $1,000s or more than that. Because right now we got women wanting a man to make $100,000 a year when she's making less than $100,000 a year. Under that mentality by itself, if you're making 50 and he's making 100, it's not gonna be 50-50, because the bills are going to be maxed. And let's say the bills are maxed at $50,000 a year, $70,000 a year, because that's comfortable living, where she's going to put up $35,000. He's going to put up $35,000. That's $70,000 to take care of the house. But then he's going to take his money and spend on her desires after the house is taken care of. She doesn't take her money and spend on his desires. She puts effort into his desires. His desires don't cost money. His desires is having a partner that can help him with responsibilities. His desire is to have a partner that can cook and clean for him so that the house can stay organized while he's at work. His desires might be intimacy, physical contact. His desires are non-monetary. Her desires are monetary. Her desires is that new $2,000 Coach purse, or the $2,500 red bottom shoes, or the new Prada outfit, or something like that. Her desires is going to be the trips around the world, $10,000 vacations, the new Usher concert or something like that, VIP access behind the show kind of thing. Instead of getting a car, her expectations would be a brand new car. Instead of getting a economy car, her expectations would be a luxury car. His expectations is to have clean clothes to go to work with every day. So the fact is that his expectations from her isn't going to cost her any money. Her expectations from him is going to cost him money. So even if they both put in half on the bills, he's still got to pay for her. It's not going to be 50-50 in a relationship. It is by default not going to be 50-50 in a relationship. And why is that? Because if he's making twice as much money as her, he's got more money to spend. So when she spends 85% of her income on the house, he's only spending a third of his income on the house. He still has 75% more income, which means he's going to be obligated to spend some money on her. Whether it's by choice or by force, the obligation, because there's going to be a larger financial gap for him than her. She's going to have stuff that she's going to want that she can't afford to get. And as a man, it is expectation from the Western society that he provide that to her. So it still means that the relationship is not going to be even. Now, if she's a $50,000 a year woman and she gets a $50,000 a year man and they're living a $60,000 a year lifestyle, they have $40,000 left over. Each of them have $20,000. That would be an equal relationship. Technically, it'd be a roommate scenario, but that would be an equal relationship. So you're not looking for a man that makes twice as much money as you if you want an equal relationship. You're looking for a man that makes the same amount of money as you if you want an equal relationship. That would be egalitarianism, because he can't spend $1 over what you're spending because y'all both bring in the same amount of money. Y'all just going half on the bills. So think about that real quick. Now, this can create a cycle of misunderstanding and conflict when we're dealing with the breakdowns of communication. This is also going to lead to emotional distress. Individuals in toxic relationships may experience heightened anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem due to constant criticism and or manipulation. Another thing that's going to happen is that with men, because men are not allowed to cry, men are not allowed to express their feelings and express their concerns, the anxiety and depression are going to be internalized. Low self-esteem is going to be internalized. And then this is going to manifest into a projection of anger, frustration, and rage. Women don't understand why they've been with this man for so long and all of a sudden he's become excessively mean, because depression is sadness projected inward. Anger is sadness projected outward. If he is sad in his relationship with you and that is projected outward, it will be projected outward as anger. Anxiety is fear projected inward. Irrational behavior is fear projected outward. Low self-esteem, believing that you're not valuable, believing that you're not worth more, accepting and settling for less, expecting less because you don't have enough value in yourself to speak up for your entitlement to more, allows you to continue to be constantly criticized and or manipulated. But when you stand on those non-negotiable expectations for behavior, you're going to have to stand on the fact that you don't want to be treated that way. You're not going to allow yourself to be treated that way. You're not going to allow your partner to continue to talk to you in that fashion or behave in that fashion. And this goes for both men and women, because no woman deserves to be constantly criticized and manipulated by a man the same way no man deserves to be constantly controlled and manipulated or criticized by a woman. The emotional toll can lead to chronic stress and health issues over time, which actually, ladies, leads to the increasingly early death rate that men experience. So while marriage can lead to a longer relationship, you notice that the men die first, typically related to stress. So the only thing I can say, I'm not going to say that it's your fault. I am going to say that what you don't want to do is you don't want to contribute to the stress. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be a part of his problems. You want to be a part of his solutions. So if you have a man that you know is stressed out because of the life that he leads with these responsibilities that he tries to take on, then as his girlfriend or his wife, you want to make sure that you can alleviate that stress. You don't want to add to the stress by fussing at him and cussing at him and making him feel bad about his lack of success. He recognizes his own success. Most men actually beat themselves up on a regular basis because they're not good enough for their own personal expectations, when your expectations might not even be their expectations. By the time you get to them, they've already gone 15 rounds with themselves before you stepped in and told them that they weren't worth it. They weren't valuable. You should never tell your partner that he's not valuable to you. You should never tell your partner that you don't need him, that you can do this all by yourself, because that is his identity, is doing it for you. Doesn't matter if you can do it by yourself. You chose him to do it for you. You didn't choose him. You didn't choose him because you couldn't do it. You chose him because you wanted him to do it. So why would you then hire him to be this person for you and then say, that's all right, I don't need your services? Then what am I here for? That makes no sense. Another thing that we talk about, isolation. Toxic dynamics can result in one person isolating the other from friends and family, further exacerbating feelings of loneliness and despair. Usually, this situation occurs. You can find a toxic relationship when either your boyfriend doesn't want you to socialize with your female friends anymore, or your girlfriend doesn't want you to socialize with women in society at all. This is a toxic dynamic. And that isolation keeps the men from observing something better, observing better treatment. You don't know that you're being mistreated until you see other people being treated better than you in the exact same situation. And then by comparison, you're like, hey, why don't I deserve that? So isolating you from the ability to see that you're not being treated right puts you in a position where you're going to recognize the loneliness, because you're not allowed to hang out with your friends. You're not allowed to socialize with your family. You're not allowed to talk to people who's going to tell you that you shouldn't be treated that way. And that's going to allow you to wallow in a larger quantity of despair, because you're going to feel helpless and abandoned and unable to remove yourself from this type of toxic relationship. And ladies, this happens to women too. And I'm going to tell you that anytime you're in a situation where your partner is making you choose between your family and your relationship, you should probably stick with the family. And likewise, if the family is making you choose between the family and a relationship, you should probably stick with the relationship, because anybody who cares about who you are should value you for your decisions and support you, even if your decision is wrong. Fact is that you're not supposed to be forced to separate ties. Now, I'm also going to say, ladies, that you're not supposed to have ex-boyfriends as friends, and you're not supposed to maintain relationships with your exes, and you're not supposed to be holding on to men in the friend zone that are waiting to hook up with you when you're committing to this man. You're supposed to be able to put a little bit of distance between you and the men that you socialize with as a single woman, because you're in a committed relationship. You're not supposed to be confiding into this man that's waiting for his turn about all of the problems with your relationship, because at some point, this man is going to capitalize on the vulnerabilities of a rocky relationship. The same way you wouldn't want your husband or your boyfriend to be confiding in this female about the rockiness of your relationship, because that would lead to the capitalization of vulnerability. Because just like women have men in a friend zone, you can expect women to be waiting around in the friend zone for their shot at the man. It's not like it's a one-sided dimension. Friend zones is not good for anybody. We're not in a society right now where individuals will make friends first and then out of their friend group select romantic partners. We select either a romantic partner or a friend. If you are not a romantic partner, you are a friend. If you are a friend, you are not a romantic partner, which means that upon first identification, you're either in it or you're out. That's it. It's not the friend zone. It's not the trial phase that leads to the relationship. And because that is no longer the dynamic, once you are put into a friend zone, if your interest was a romantic relationship, you need to remove yourself from that situation. If you have no interest of a romantic relationship, that is when it's okay to have a friend. There's nothing wrong with making friends with the opposite sex. The only problem is that you make friends with the opposite sex when the opposite sex wants to have an intimate romantic relationship with you, and you are not recognizing that. That is when it's a problem. That is the only time it's a problem. Outside of that, there is no problem. Guys can have female friends. Females can have male friends. You have no interest in each other. Universally speaking, he's not interested in her. She's not interested in him. You guys just have same interests. Y'all just hang out at the same time in the same places. That's fine. You know, but if he wanted a relationship out of her and she doesn't want that, that's not a good friendship. If she wants a relationship out of him, he doesn't know that, that's not a good relationship. Because again, I said it yesterday, men are inconsiderate. So he's not going to think about that. He's not going to put those pieces together. But if she doesn't come out and say, hey, I want a relationship out of this, where he can decide I don't want a relationship out of this, then that's a wrap. But it is unhealthy for her to be in a relationship with a guy who doesn't notice she wants a relationship from him, and then her feelings are being ignored because he doesn't see her that way. That's not healthy for her. That is still a toxic relationship. It's a toxic friendship, because while you long for more, you are suppressing your desire for more and never taking action on the fact that you feel like you should have more. That's not good, which also closes you off from the opportunity to get the same thing or something better from somewhere else. It's like applying for a job, never getting hired, and waiting for the callback, but never going to apply for a job nowhere else. It doesn't work for you. Eventually, you need a job. So if they don't respond to you in a reasonable period of time, you've got to go and ask somebody else. But you have to fill out the application. You can't just say, oh, I want that job and never apply for it. Likewise, you can't just want this man and never tell him. So think about that. Now, when it comes to the isolation, this isolation can diminish social support. And the diminishment of social support is crucial for mental well-being. Resentment and bitterness is going to be something that develops from this. Resentment and bitterness in a toxic relationship, this behavior is going to manifest itself as jealousy and competition amongst women that can foster negative feelings towards peers, leading to a lack of support and camaraderie, where you guys are fighting over the same guy. Even though that guy don't want all of y'all, he just wants one of y'all. Y'all all fighting over the same guy, and you already know which one the guy wants. Instead of y'all fighting each other for the same guy, just share him, for Christ's sakes. But the competitive mindset can also manifest in romantic partnerships, where one partner feels overshadowed and underappreciated, which usually this can happen where it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. When you're in a relationship with somebody that might be more highly educated than you are and you feel intimidated by that, he might be more financially successful than you are and you feel intimidated by that. Men can feel intimidated by a woman's success the same way women can feel intimidated by a man's success, and women can feel intimidated by a man's quantity of knowledge versus a woman's quantity of knowledge. And when you start talking about experience and skill sets, women can feel intimidated by one woman's capabilities of functioning to the same capacity as her man when the girlfriend, can't perform to the same level. For example, if your husband is active, or your boyfriend is active, mountain climbing, health and fitness, gym guy, and there's a girl in the group that can match his energy, but you don't have that level, you're more of a couch potato kind of thing, you might feel intimidated or jealous of the fact that this woman can keep up with your man. But the fact is that he don't want her. He's just doing the same thing that she's doing while she's doing it. He wants you. But that self-consciousness, that jealousy, which is a level of insecurity that is manifested in extreme behaviors, now you're going to overwork yourself trying to keep up with this chick, and that's going to put you in a position where you might injure yourself trying to be overly active in a situation where you shouldn't even be active. You should be watching the two of them fall off the mountain climbing thing instead of you getting up there falling off the mountain climbing thing. You know that you're not a mountain climber. You shouldn't be out there, dude. Just because you married a gym rat doesn't mean that you need to be at a gym with him every day. You know he going to the gym. You can drop him off at the gym. You can pick him up from the gym. You can drop him off at the gym and go across the street and eat you a couple cheeseburgers while he at the gym. You ain't got to be at the gym with him. But if you decide that you're going to date you a gym rat, then you're going to spend all your time in the gym when being in the gym doesn't benefit you because that's not what you're interested in. You are going to be irritated at the gym. And then anybody else that works in with your man that turns out to be a female that has the same energy as him is going to piss you off because she's doing the gym thing better than you are. That's not good for you to do. That's not good for you to do. Recognize your strengths and weaknesses. If that's not inside of your scenario, what you're strong at is what he got you for. And being in the gym isn't what he grabbed you for. I mean, of course, unless y'all met in the gym, that would be a different scenario. Moving on, though, emotional manipulation is going to be something that we're going to be dealing with in toxic relationships a lot. And this is a significant challenge that we're going to face with a lot of the toxic women that we've been talking about today, where they often make you feel guilty for things that aren't even your fault. And we talked about this like 6 months ago, where it makes it difficult for you as a person to recognize that you're in a manipulated situation. The manipulation is very hard. And this also goes both ways, ladies. So, you can find men that will make you feel guilty about the things that you do that aren't even your fault. Well, not even the things that you do, the things that happen that aren't even your fault, like not even your involvement, but by manipulating you into those situations, you get blamed for things. I can tell you, I remember when I was growing up, this was long time ago. I remember when things used to happen around the house. I had been gone for 2 weeks. I'd set foot in the door, only been there 10 minutes, and they would be accusing me of doing something that I didn't even know anything about. Now, and when the first time it happened, because you're like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. The first time it happens, you're like, oh man, I didn't do it, blah blah blah. And then after a while, you just stop defending yourself. It's like, hold on, I've only been here for like 15 minutes. What came up missing? When did it come up missing? Because I haven't been here for 2 weeks. I'll help you find it. I'll start looking, but I mean, I don't even know what it is. So how would I have been the person that took it if I didn't even know it was missing in the first place? Help me understand what's going on here. And by changing the dynamic to say, look, I know that you're missing some stuff, but you and I are going to have to work together to find what you're looking for because I've been gone. And it changes the whole dynamic. But when people make it seem like it's your fault, that something went wrong, even when you had nothing to do with it, you don't recognize the manipulation there, when really all they could have done was say, hey, while you were gone, X, Y, and Z came up missing. I lost it. It got taken, whatever. Can you help me find it? Can you help me look for it? If you want to get reinforcements to help you look for something, don't accuse somebody of taking it. Just say, hey, have you seen it? Do you know what it looks like? If you do, can you help me look for it? Because it's not where I last had placed it. It should be in here somewhere, but everywhere I've looked, I can't find it. Maybe fresh set of eyes could take a look for me and maybe look in places that I haven't looked. Because like when you lose your cell phone and your cell phone is in your back pocket and you're talking on your cell phone with your headset on, if you lost your phone and you're on a call while you lost your phone is nearby, because when you disconnect the Bluetooth from the cell phone, that only happens when you're too far away from the phone. So the phone's got to be nearby. You know what I'm saying? These things happen. They might tell you something like, if you really care about me, you do this for me. I'm going to tell you that phrase. I don't care if a man says it or a woman says it. If you love me, you would do. Nope. That's manipulative tactics. And whatever comes out after that should be a direct no, because I love you. That's why I'm standing here. I ain't got to do shit for you because I love you. I do shit for you because I want to. There's a difference. And ladies, y'all can take that and y'all can put that in your front pocket, back pocket, bra strap, whatever y'all want to do. If you really care about me, I really cared about you. That's why I'm here. The things I do for you because I want to, not because I have to. So nothing that follows that statement, whether a man says it or a woman says it, should be done. Because if you wanted it done, you would have done that. You don't want to do that. You're not supposed to do that. So you're not supposed to allow somebody to manipulate you into doing something that you don't want to do to validate your affection, your appreciation, your loyalty. Again, I'm going to tell you, ladies, y'all don't have to defend y'all position. When y'all screw up, you screwed up. If you wanted to do something, you would have done it. If you didn't want to do it, you're not going to do it. So you shouldn't have to defend yourself to your man as to why you screwed up. You should just take accountability for your responsibilities for not doing what you were supposed to do. That's uniform to what I just said 30 minutes ago. So again, you're in a position where no, this isn't going to work out if I have to prove myself to you by doing something that I otherwise would not do. That's not okay. And when you're evaluating the character of your partner, you're supposed to be evaluating the character of your partner about the things that they will and will not do versus the things they will and will not accept you to do, so that you can determine what kind of relationship you're trying to get yourself into as to this, is this what I want to have? And if the answer is no, then truth, you are not supposed to be in that type of relationship. Now, that type of statement, in all reality, is just their way of trying to control your actions. And jealousy is another trait that is prevalent in toxic women. It's prevalent in toxic men also, ladies. So don't take it to heart. But if this resonates in some way, shape, or form, whether you do it or you know somebody else that does this, you might want to start talking to some folks and having some interventions and say, hey, man, we should probably not allow this to continue. They get comfortable when you're around other people, especially other women. When they get uncomfortable, and this is the jealousy situation. So they get uncomfortable when you're around other people, especially with other women, and might even accuse you of flirting or being interested in someone else. This type of jealousy is not okay. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a level of jealousy that is appropriate where you are a little bit anxious about the fact that somebody else likes your man, kind of thing. And there isn't a healthy level of competition where you start competing with her for his affection, but your ability to show concern that she's trying to get his attention affectionately is appropriate. Showing concern, maybe telling him that you're concerned that girl might like your man, kind of thing. But if that girl baked your man brownies and you don't know how to bake and you just burned him cookies trying to outdo her, that's not good. It's cute, but that's unhealthy, toxic behavior for yourself as well as for your relationship. You should be able to communicate that you don't feel comfortable with the fact that that woman is baking your man cookies or brownies. And he should be able to say, okay, outside of a friendly gesture of kindness, that he should not be accepting anything from anyone exclusively for himself. So if she did not make cookies or brownies for the couple, if she only made it for him, he's supposed to reject that. If this person made it for the family, where the husband and the wife, the boyfriend and the girlfriend are included in the gift, then you accept it. Otherwise, he's out of line for accepting individual gifts for himself when he's in a relationship, because you guys are one unit. So this jealousy can escalate to the competition that I just talked to you guys about, where they try to one up each other in every aspect of life. It's a very exhausting thing to see, at the very least, much less do. And more often than not, toxic women play victim cards to the sympathy and attention from others, which also exacerbates exhaustion, because I can tell you that, again, from a uniform perspective, I have no sympathy. I can't say I have no sympathy. I can say, though, that if it's fair to say that you probably should have gotten something that you didn't get, that I'm probably going to be rooting for you to the fact that you get it. But I mean, if you're in a situation where you probably didn't get what you were supposed to get when it comes down to negative consequences for your decision making, I would tell you to count your blessings, because truth be told, it could have been way worse. So sympathetic behavior in expectation for attention is not good. Being in a relationship with a girl that's going to accuse you of flirting with her friend and then break up with you and then beg you not to break up with her and then try to get back with you so that she can have excitement in her relationship, that's a toxic relationship to be in. And that goes to the next step, where we're talking about how they may create drama or chaos only to turn around and act like the innocent party. Look, no man wants chaos, ladies. Women don't want chaos. Women don't want to be in relationships that are chaotic. But a man doesn't want chaos. And since men don't want chaos, we're going to be in a position where we're hoping that the woman that we're dating is going to be part of our peace, not part of our chaos. So if we're finding a person, whether, ladies, if y'all find a man that's always in the midst of some drama, y'all need to redirect your attention on that. But fellas, if you're in a relationship or you're thinking about getting into a relationship with a woman that's got a lot of chaos going on, bro, you might want to bench yourself in that situation and redirect your attention towards something that's a little less catastrophic to yourself. Keep in mind, these behaviors can be incredibly draining and affect your self-esteem. You start questioning your worth and wonder if you're the problem. But that's exactly what toxic women want, for you to doubt yourself and your abilities. When you're in a relationship with someone like this, you might feel like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid conflict or drama. It's a delicate balancing act that never seems to end. It goes even further because, fellas, when we're dealing with these toxic women, you got to understand that we start building man caves. We start hiding in these man caves, and then we start justifying the man cave like, oh, I'm just expressing myself in my house. Bro, you own the house. You should be able to express yourself all over the house. You should be able to express yourself all over the yard. Why do you have only one room exclusive to everything that you like and everything else in the house is exclusive to just what she likes? Your taste in your relationship should be expressed throughout your house for both the male and the female. Then when you get kids, some of your kids' taste is supposed to be expressed throughout the house as well as a family. You should not just have an exclusive. This isn't like a trophy shelf. If your kids have trophies, you might have a trophy shelf. But if your kid was drawing pictures, that's on a refrigerator. Family photos are all over the house. Your kid's on the honor roll, that might be in different areas of the house. You know, your kid's on a team, that might be in different areas of the house. You know, your kid likes certain activities like music or something like that, dance class or something like that. That it should be all over the house. You should not have hiding in any location where the desires of the people in the family are exclusive to an individual room. Yeah, you keep your personal stuff in your personal room for the sake of the kids, but like mom and dad, if dad's got a Michael Jordan jersey or a Kobe Bryant signed jersey, he should be able to have that hanging in the living room. It should not have to be hidden in the garage as a man cave or this one office space in the house that nobody else is allowed to go into, where this domain is exclusively for him. And he's going to spend 80% of his time in that domain when he's not at work. That the other magnitude of that is even more severe. So when you're around toxic women, you might notice that they're extremely critical of others and they'll find fault in everyone around them, but somehow they're never the one at fault. Which I know it's a lot of women, when I started talking about that, they were like, oh, they're masters at deflecting blame and making others feel responsible for their actions. And these women often have a sense of entitlement, believing they deserve special treatment and attention. Now, I'm a man of uniformity, so me and women with a false sense of entitlement don't get along on a regular basis because I believe in uniformity, and I believe that whatever you're entitled to, I should be entitled to too. Whatever rights that you believe that you should have, I should have the same rights. So if it's not balanced, it's not uniform. And if it is not a uniformed absolute, then I'm going to disagree with you on that. And then the bias about your position is that your personal self-entitlement is going to be projected into me as to your right to have it solely because you're a woman. But if we change places and say, well, if I'm a man and I'm in the position that you want to be in, and you're in my position where I'm saying I don't think that's a good idea, how would you feel about that? Every time I flip that script, the women say, oh, well, that's not fair. Well, why not? And their response is going to always follow up with, because you're a man. That is not acceptable. If we're supposed to be equal, it doesn't matter who's in that position of receiving benefits. Whoever's in that position to receive benefits should receive benefits. They might throw tantrums or get angry when they don't get their way. And it's not uncommon for them to be passive aggressive, which means that they're going to be doing little revenge tactics where they're going to be sabotaging stuff, destroying stuff, breaking stuff, setting you up in catastrophic situations where other people that wasn't even involved in the original debate start taking actions against you based on the information they heard from her. That kind of stuff is the kind of passive aggressive stuff where she might not attack you directly. She just might piss somebody else off about your actions and have that person beat you up instead. That type of behavior is type of behaviors you should avoid. When you have toxic women often using guilt to control those around them, they'll make you feel responsible for their emotions and well-being. And if you don't comply with their demands, they'll become upset or angry. You might feel like you're responsible for fixing their problems, but the truth is you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, which is why if you don't like what somebody else is doing, you're supposed to tell them that. You're supposed to give them a reasonable opportunity to fix that. And then you're supposed to stand on those non-negotiable expectations for behavior and let that person know, hey, look, if you don't shape up, then I'm shipping out. That's how it is. We're not going to argue back and forth about this. This isn't going to be a debate. If you're not happy with the situation that we're in, then you can go somewhere. But if I'm not happy with the situation that we're in, you have the opportunity to change. But if you choose not to, I'm not going to stick around because you can't make somebody else change. Another common trait is that they're often charming and charismatic in public, but behind closed doors, they're a completely different person. They're skilled at putting on a mask to deceive others, making it difficult for people to believe that they're toxic. And ladies, I can tell you right now, I know a couple guys that does stuff like that. And I can tell you, even in that situation, if he's nice to you in public, but he treats you like garbage at the house, it's time to go. So if she's nice to you in public, but she treats you like garbage in the house, it is time to go. If she's nice to you in public when she's getting her way, but then she treats you like garbage, even in public, it is time to go. Whenever she doesn't get her way, when her attitude changes towards you, it's time to go. Because that's never going to change. One pivotal insight I've gained over the years is that toxic women are often products of their environment, which means that they have experienced this toxic behavior from somebody somewhere, whether they experienced it from the male relationships that they had, which is one of the reasons why men prefer women with lower body counts and prefer women with lower engagements with men, because they have less of an opportunity to be involved with toxic men that could lead these women into becoming toxic women, where then the good man that wasn't involved with that wasn't the first choice. The good man is like somewhere down the line, 20, 30, 70, 100, some women 1,000, 1,100, 2,500. And after all of the toxic men that she's come across, now she finds a good man and she's going to treat the good man like crap because of the toxic environment that she's lived with throughout her life. There's also the other scenario where you grew up in a toxic environment in your childhood. This is all you know, so you're projecting what you've experienced in your childhood. There's so many different ways that this can manifest, where the person that you're in a relationship right now did not create this. They're just a victim of it. And that's something that we have to recognize, that that's on both sides of the fence. That even when you deal with a man that has been heavily traumatized by past negative relationships or past trauma from his childhood, that you might not be the cause of his trauma, but you will become the victim of it if you are not working with him to overcome whatever holdups that he has. So this is something that's going to shape the behavior and worldview of the entire person. And this doesn't excuse their actions, but it does help us understand where they're coming from. So while you might not agree with some of these people who have these dating apps, or not the dating apps, the tracker thing for the girlfriend and the boyfriend, where you track each other's cell phones. I know a lot of iPhones are doing that these days. You guys are tracking each other's cell phones, and you're not doing it to keep your partner safe. You're not tracking your boyfriend right now because you want to make sure that he's not in danger. You're tracking your boyfriend because you want to make sure that he's loyal. You want to make sure that he's not at a strip club or by his ex-girlfriend's house. If he told you he was going to hang out by his homeboy, you want to make sure that he's by his homeboy. Because if he told you that he was by his homeboy, but he ended up at an unknown address, then you would assume that he's lying to you and having an affair with you, having an affair on you, when he could actually have gone to his homeboy and then had to give his homeboy's cousin a ride to their house. And his homeboy's cousin is a dude, and he's dropping his homeboy cousin off. So now he's not at his homeboy's house, but because he didn't call you and check in and say, hey, I'm changing locations, now you're mad at him, swearing up and down that he's cheating. That's not what trackers are for. The tracker was so that if you got a flat, if you got into a car crash, if something happened and you're stuck, as long as there's a GPS signal, I can come find you. I can come get you. That's what the tracker was supposed to be for. It was because first response with law enforcement takes 45 minutes or more to get to any location. There is probably 1% of the population that is law enforcement, maybe less than that. And the fact is that if more of us need help, then there are available officers, because officers have to travel in groups. So even though there might be 1% of the population might be law enforcement, they're usually going 1 to 10 to each incident, which means that you've probably got 0.01% of the police force that can respond in most emergencies at the same time, which means that if you're in trouble, I could help you faster than calling the police. Yeah, call them, but I can get there faster. That's what the tracker is for. If your car breaks down, I can get there faster than a tow guy, because more people's cars get towed than I need to tow cars. That's what the tracker is for. The tracker is not so that you can keep track of your partner to make sure that they're not cheating on you, but that's what it's being used for. That's negative toxic behavior. If you're not coming to my rescue, you don't need to track my whereabouts. That doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. If you're not intending on coming to my rescue, you should not be tracking my whereabouts. And the reason why you're tracking whereabouts for rescue is because when somebody is in trouble, they don't know where they are. 90% of people, male and female alike, don't know where they are. If they are not on a street corner when it goes down, they're in between two corners. If the last turnoff was like a mile down the road, they don't remember what street they passed. They just know that they're on a road somewhere in between their destination and the last checkpoint that they recognize. That's a long stretch. Sometimes that could be a mile. Sometimes that could be a 20-mile stretch. So having a GPS signal allows somebody to say, help me, come here right now. And whoever receives that communication can jump in the car and ride to you. That's what that's about. And if you have the technology where the ping for the last known address when the cell phone dies is going to still be active, then even if the phone dies, where you call and you say, help me, I need help, blah, 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 and then the phone dies and you stay still, I mean, unless you're under attack, and you stay still, your phone died, the GPS signal should have the person coming to your rescue come to the last known location for the cell phone. And that's where they start looking for you. If you get kidnapped or attacked, that's what that's supposed to be for. It's not just supposed to be so that you, if your boyfriend said that he was going to study with his brother and his GPS signal is in a nightclub, you're going to go to the nightclub and try to, what he doing in a nightclub? He was supposed to be at his homeboy house studying or at his brother's house studying. That's not what that's for. But putting it on the phone to track your partner's whereabouts for loyalty and devotion purposes, that's the type of negative toxic behavior that I say is never a good idea. So when you realize that their behavior is not about you, but about them, it empowers you to set boundaries or non-negotiable expectations for behavior. And then you'll be able to take control of your relationship, and you can't fix someone else's issues, but you can fix how you respond to them. Another crucial realization is that toxic women and a lot of times toxic men often target people who are empathetic and caring. They prey on our kindness, using it to manipulate and control us. When you understand these particular factors, you can take steps to protect yourself and maintain a healthy relationship. So they can inherently have this toxic behavior that you do not have to adhere to. The same way if you have a best friend that's a kleptomaniac, just because they steal on a regular basis doesn't mean that you can't be friends with them. You just got to search them before you go anywhere. You got to make sure that they're not putting stuff in their pockets when you're at the grocery store with them or at the mall with them. And if you come to find out that they are pocketing stuff, that you don't leave the store until they put it back. That's how you work around them. You're not changing who they are. You're just not going to allow them to perform actions that will negatively impact you. The key is to set these non-negotiable expectations for behavior, not just set boundaries, because boundaries is putting up walls. I don't set up boundaries, and I don't encourage people to set up boundaries, because boundaries puts up walls. You have non-negotiable expectations for behavior. There are no walls. You're going to act right in my presence, or you're not going to be in my presence. That's the expectation. And this is a uniform position. I'm going to act right when I'm in your presence, or I'm not going to be in your presence. So this isn't a situation where you're going to put up a shield that stops me from doing certain things. You're going to say, hey, if you don't act right while you with me, bro, you ain't rolling with me. That's how that goes. And if that means that you're not going to be in this relationship with me, if you're not going to behave the way this relationship needs you to behave, then we're not going to be in a relationship together. That's how that works. But when you set up those non-negotiable expectations for behavior without being aggressive or possessive, you are able to communicate assertively. When you're setting up these non-negotiable expectations for behavior, you're establishing and maintaining a healthy relationship. Both your partner should communicate their needs and limits as well as yours openly, while you're going to communicate your standards and your limits, your needs openly to your partner. And then active listening needs to take place there, where you guys are listening and adhering to each other's personal expectations. Now, encouraging emotional intelligence. This is something that we've talked about on the show quite a few times. If you're developing emotional awareness, that can help individuals recognize toxic patterns in themselves as well as others, which is what I'm talking to you guys about today. So even if this doesn't apply to you, if you've heard it, if you've experienced it, if you've seen it, if you know somebody who's doing it, you might want to sit them down and let's talk about this over the show. And then they can be like, oh, damn, I didn't know that I was doing that. And you can kind of try to make changes by first having them make awareness of their actions, because you cannot get change without the first step: recognition, making awareness that there is a problem that needs to be rectified. Then, after you recognize that there's a problem, you have to figure out how to fix the problem. Then you have to have not only first person accountability, but group accountability, where you guys work together to make that change. The same way that a person that quits drugs and alcohol needs help from their friends to not allow themselves to succumb to the temptations of drugs and alcohol. The same way that negative behavior, it is hard to break negative behavior, but encouragement of them breaking that negative behavior comes from reinforcement from the social group that allows that prevents them from falling back on their desire and dedication to change and improve themselves. The mentality that it takes a village to raise a child, that is exactly what this is. It takes a village to maintain a strong social network as well. The village holds you accountable for your behavior. The same way you promised the village that your behavior would improve, the village will hold you accountable for your behavior. Your social network is your village. And if you have a positive social network, your village should help you improve to be a better person. And likewise, you should be able to hold each person in your village accountable for improving as well. This awareness allows for healthy interactions based on respect and understanding. Also, seeking the support, engaging in therapy or counseling can provide tools for addressing toxic behaviors and improving relationship dynamics. Professional guidance can help individuals navigate complex emotional landscapes more effectively. It'll also allow you to dig deeper into the core foundation as to why you started behaving this way in the first place. And then it starts helping you find ways to make changes. Now, it takes 66 days to develop a habit, so it's going to take twice as long for you to break one, but that doesn't change the fact that over time, you can practice a habit that counters a habit that you've already performed. Awareness is, as I've said before, the first step of change. And by recognizing the traits of toxic women, and ladies, by awareness of the traits of toxic men, you can empower yourselves to make better choices in your relationships. Remember that you deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. You are supposed to be appreciated, and you're supposed to receive validation from your partner when you're in a romantic relationship. And it is okay to walk away from relationships that are draining your energy and not treating you fairly. Toxic femininity encompasses a range of behaviors that can negatively impact relationships by fostering emotional distress, communication breakdowns, and isolation. And recognizing these patterns can be crucial for both individuals affected by the toxic behavior and those exhibiting such traits. By fostering open communication, setting boundaries, and seeking support when needed, individuals can work towards healthier, more fulfilling relationships. And it's important to note that recognizing and addressing toxic behavior in women, as well as women recognizing a toxic behavior in men, is crucial for our emotional well-being and personal growth. Because if we are attracted to that toxic behavior, we need to change our decision-making process, because it's not just the other person. If you have been in 5, 10, 15 different toxic relationships, that's because you're attracted to toxicity, which is a self-harming trait. You have to recognize that if you only function well in toxic relationships, that's because you're a victim of toxic behavior, and you are self-traumatizing yourself, which requires you to receive some type of help to get you out of that pattern where you are not picking negative partners, because that's not good for you. Your type might be toxic to you. So a lot of times women don't want a man because that's not her type. But if your type has always ended in a bad relationship, ma'am, you might need to start dating people that are everything except your type. Because what might be best for you might not be your type. It might just be what is best for your situation, your circumstances, your standard of living, your lifestyle. And picking somebody that is not your type, this might not be the person that you would have picked out of a crowd, but because out of a crowd he picked you, that turns out to be a knight in shining armor. And that does work both ways. I have said plenty of times on this show that instead of you forever looking forward for something else, you should look behind you, because the person that got your back is the reason why you are standing here today. And the person that got your back might be what's best for you. So why does the person that got your back stay in a friend zone and never get the opportunity, while all of the other people that has never held you up is getting an opportunity to tear you down? And then the person that got your back is building you back up again for you to go back out there and get beat down again. Why don't you look back and give the person behind you the opportunity to maintain the position that they've been holding this whole time while you wasn't looking? Because that might be what is in your best interest. By understanding these traits and behaviors, we can take control of our relationships. And I've already told you that you'll be able to create these healthy, more positive connections. I want to appreciate you guys for coming to the show tonight. I know we started really late. If you guys have any personal experiences with toxicity, whether it's toxic women or toxic men, please share them in the comments below. I will take all comments of all kinds related to the topic. And also be sure to check out some of the videos that we've got coming up, because we got some business and finance videos coming up soon. We also got some more relationship topics and self-improvement videos coming up over the next week. You'll start seeing them being posted over the next couple of days, pre-posted over the next couple of days. And we're still going to be trying to work our way into starting live every day, starting at around 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 6 Pacific, coming soon. So make sure that you keep an eye out for us. But also note, if you hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, even if you're following us on Twitch or Twitter, because TikTok is banned in the US, you will see that as soon as we go live, you will be notified. We give you the opportunity to come check us out. So if we don't start at our regular scheduled time, we do start every day. So you'll be able to see that. I want you guys to be able to take the time to take a look at us. So always make sure that you swing by the YouTube channel and hit that like and subscribe button. And in addition to that, if you guys ever come across a scenario where you like the content that we're providing to you, it's always a good idea if you throw us a couple donations on the platform through super likes, super emojis, special thanks, and gifts. They got this new gift thing going out right now. And if you throw those things into the comment section, we also give you guys recognition for that, because that helps us with building up the platform and providing you guys with better quality service, as well as that 4K HD service that you guys want to see. I think we're running right now at 720p because of the internet in the area, but Fios, whatever from T-Mobile is going to cost twice as much as the regular Wi-Fi, but we're going to be getting 2,000 megabytes per second up and down, as opposed to 350 megabytes up and down. So you'll have far better experience and quality of performance over time. We just have to work that into the budget. So if you guys show support to the podcast, it helps us help you with better quality show. And it also gives you guys the ability to experience more knowledge and more entertainment, because we are live 7 nights a week. We don't let the sun rise without doing a show every single night. So if you miss us, make sure that you go back to the channel, because you'll see that that show is either featured or it is on some of the most recent releases every single night. We're here 7 nights a week. We don't fail. We don't fail. We're not on time. We operate on CP time, but we don't fail. We show up every single night, and we give you about an hour or so more often than not. So I want you guys to take into consideration of that. Beyond that, yeah, all I have to say is, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I want to give you a special shout out to some of my bros that's been coming around the way. Max, Ruderus, Reese, Liberty Twitcher, Mr. Pibbs, Light Blue. We have Red Void, Omni 81, Silly Emma, Kyle. We got a lot of guys. I want to give you guys a special shout out, because you guys have been showing us support since day one. I think we're working on like a top 10 for both YouTube and Twitch right now. And we're going to be developing a top 10 for TikTok as well. So we greatly appreciate you guys for coming to the show and showing the support, showing us that love. I also want to give special shout outs to some of the countries that's been giving us a lot of love as of late, since Russia, Vietnam, United Kingdom, India, Germany, Australia, South Africa, Mexico, Canada, Indonesia, the Philippines, Romania, and Brazil have been showing us love for a long period of time. I want to appreciate you guys for swinging by the show and staying dedicated to what we got going on, because without y'all, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So in addition to that, here in the United States, some of our top 5 states has been showing us love is Illinois, New York, Florida, where we originate out of, California, Texas, and we also have Georgia and Pennsylvania, but they're not in the top 5. They're in like the top 10, but they alternate as to which ones show us the most support month to month. So we really appreciate you guys for showing us love throughout the United States and around the world. I wanted to give you that before I signed off. I wanted to let you guys know that if you missed the show, go back and watch the show from the beginning, because it will play as a post-play live. But we are live 7 nights a week. We're supposed to be starting soon at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 5 Pacific. So keep your eyes out for it. Thank you guys for coming to This and That. I am your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'm going to see you tonight.